viewers. My intention of principle number 5 is not to disrespect or disregard any disparities regarding Australia's First Nation peoples. As a Samoan New Zealander in education, my only intention is to create a praxis for teachers in Australia. Essentially, provide resources readily available for all teachers to access, to learn and use inside the classroom Australia's First Nation language. It is imperative while viewing to ensure your looking lens is inclusive and other-centered with an urgency to become part of the solution. Specific theories are from Aotearoa New Zealand Indigenous Māori. In particular, Professor Graham Hengangaroa Smith will provide a vista of snapshots how the Māori communities preserve te reo Māori and their culture through establishing schools. In comparison, this presentation will outline Samoa's key similarities in structure, language, and nation. More importantly, how they reclaimed sovereignty over their country, Samoa mo Samoa. A significant sequential thread throughout this presentation requires one to question: can these theories, actions, and approaches be replicated for Australia's First Nation peoples? Additionally, an inductive approach to ABEDs, the sounds and writing systems of Aboriginal languages. A collective approach is required from interagency collaboration. Imperatively, First Nation communities placed at the helm of the wheelhouse, navigating their journey and destinations. In addition, professions such as linguistics, speech language pathologists, Indigenous Māori Samoan educators as consultants, advisors, and especially musical directors and social workers. Now for the 5th principle guidelines of musication. It's imperative that we consult with local First Nation communities and including key aspects for fostering language, identity, and cultural traditions.
Foremost, discussions regarding gender, age, rite of passage rituals, elders and their roles defined. In particular, meta-narratives, theory, as a praxis for integral implementation of language content, customs, folklore and traditions.
Musication, music uniting students in content, assessment, teaching, inviting opportunities, and negotiated curriculum.
Musication as a praxis. As a result, putting theory into practice and/or reality. Accordingly, commit to becoming change agents. Using a radical approach effectively, teaching pedagogy approach for change. Therefore, focus on the process of transforming and on the transformative outcomes. In particular, First Nations who struggled with the preservation of their mother tongue. Taking a closer look at New Zealand's Indigenous Maori juxtaposed Samoan reclaimed sovereignty. In addition, compare and contrast the key elements of their chieftain structures surrounding Tautala Samoa and the Maori language. A distinction between Samoa under administration of Germany until 1914, when New Zealand took over administration under the auspices of the League of Nations, later becoming the UN trusteeship. Profoundly, Samoa reclaimed sovereignty in 1962, becoming the first independent nation out of the Pacific nations.
1840, Treaty of Waitangi signed between Maori tribes and Crown. Maori unite by having a single language spoken across all tribes, easier to develop unity across individual tribal situations and development. Chieftain structure in all tribes, vocational expertise dynasty, te reo Māori endangered, Māori moved to radical action. Māori communities across New Zealand were united in the need to defend their language and culture, Māori language. In the Māori language nests, Te Kohanga Reo. Also significant meeting house, a wharenui marae, pai orators, and also known as seafaring peoples. Juxtapose the elements of Samoa, whalavilavi, the cultural ceremonies such as funerals, weddings, or rite of passage, for example. The loko is the worship, the spiritual. Hainga family, ngawha is the genealogy, my Tai chieftain, alofa is the love, and tautala Samoa is Samoan language. Furthermore, other characteristics showing colonized by two different administrations, Western Samoa, Eastern Samoa, by USA, now known as American Samoa. Vocational expertise dynasties, whaamatai chieftain structure, significant meeting houses, whaletele, and orators are talking chief who have their own styles and language. Also known as seafaring peoples. Although we've only scratched the surface of the two cultures, characters, and their past experiences, we want to look at those similarities and how they have overcome and what their strategies were, and most importantly, can this be replicated for the Australian First Nation peoples?
Let's harmonise what you're doing.
Yeah. Mama, ready? Here we're going to check it out, whether you are truly in your Kiwi zone. Ready? O, U. No. Come on, Ryan. Represent. O, U. Hearing? Toro, 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 big toro. Okay, now Ryan was in Kohanga Reo when he was in the Horowhenua area. Live-in. Yep. Yeah. So those bring back memories, Ryan. Yeah. So those bring back memories, Ryan.
Yeah.
No, I used to get a lot of smoke deal.
Yeah.
No cigarettes. It was good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change anything. Like where I grew up, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks, man, and we'll be in touch during the night. As an educator, I know that I can only reach students class at a time, year at a time. But given the opportunity and using MUSICATION as a praxis, I can reach a wider scope of students.
Do you know how many vowel sounds there are in the Australian First Nation language? Do you know their sounds and writing operations? As an Australian teacher, how often do you use their language in your classroom? In greeting, instructions, and praise?
In Principle 5, we aim to transform MUSICATION as a praxis.
Thank you for watching. Now, go make a difference.